Good morning. My name is Mike Hogan. I'm the site manager here at the Ford St. Paul site. And on behalf of Ford Motor Company and the contractors who are performing work here at the site, I'd like to welcome our guests from the city of St. Paul and the members of the press here to the Ford site today. A little over a year ago, we stood on this very location when we kicked off the structural demolition of the buildings that existed here up on the upper portion of the property. A year later, you can see that 2 million square feet of buildings have been demolished to the ground. Now, as we enter into the next phase of the demolition process, Ford Motor Company looks forward to working with the city of St. Paul and the state and county agencies to move the process forward to a successful redevelopment. With that as background, it's my pleasure to introduce the Honorable Chris Coleman, the Mayor of St. Paul. He's going to have a few words about the city's vision for this site. Mayor Coleman.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be joined here today by Councilmember Tolbert as well as Mike and our great partners that are going to be necessary for us to move this project forward. We have our partners with our Planning and Economic Development Agency, the Port Authority, Greater MSP. We have the representatives of the building trades that are here that are going to be actually constructing what's happening and finishing this project, so we're happy to have them here with us today. And it is kind of fun to think about where we were a year ago and to look out over this site, because you really get a sense of how massive the opportunity is here and what we are about to embark on. Approximately a year from now, this nearly 130-acre site will, that used to be home to Ford Motor Company for almost a century, will be put up for sale. It's situated, as we all know, on the banks of the Mississippi River, but this formal industrial site represents, I think, an unbridled opportunity. Few fully developed cities have an opportunity like we have here to redevelop a site as important as the Ford Motor Company site. And we have to develop it in a way that embraces the best in innovation, in modern thinking, and current opportunity. A great deal of activity has already happened in anticipation of that day a year from now. We've had a community task force that was put together to really formulate a long-term plan and vision for the site. We've had the demolition that has been well underway. We're getting much closer to really understanding the full environmental assessment for the site and let us know exactly what we have to deal with here. But when you think about this, go back to the day that Henry Ford stood on this site almost 90 years ago and declared this the best site in the entire country to build a new facility for the Ford company. Similarly, we stand on this site understanding fully that this may be the best site in the country to build a 21st century community that will serve the city of St. Paul and this region for generations to come. I truly believe that this site could be one of the greenest, cleanest, and most well-connected sites anywhere in the country. A community where a diverse range of income, culture, and interest are reflected in a range of housing, jobs, and recreation. Taking a passive role on the site is not an option for the city of St. Paul. And thankfully, we have a partner in Ford who welcomes our engagement and legwork we're prepared to do. Outlining an ambitious vision and setting clear parameters for a future development partner, as we are doing, requires that we work aggressively this coming year and take concrete steps to ensure expectations can be met. Combining planning and analysis with a bold vision and hard work throughout the next year will advance and align the city's aspirations and market realities. I know St. Paul and the greater MSP region are up to this task. Here's what we're planning to focus in on the next year as we look forward. The city's Planning and Economic Development Department is leading analysis of how renewable energy resources and energy-efficient technologies can be integrated into the site. The Riverview Corridor Study, led by the Ramsey County, the Regional Rail Authority, will assess how we can incorporate transportation into the planning and alleviate impacts on already busy intersections such as Ford Parkway and Cleveland. The city will be evaluating new zoning for the site and will seek input from community stakeholders. An outline of new zoning concepts for the site will be ready for public feedback in mid-October. This feedback, along with a more complete picture of the environmental condition of the site expected early next year, will provide direction of appropriate future uses on this site. New zoning will provide clarity to the neighborhood and future developers regarding the mixed character and general design of the redeveloped site. The future of a 21st century community will start to unfold as Ford begins the process of marketing and selling the property. Whether it's providing input on the zoning, advocating for sustainability on the site, or looking for a place to live or work in the future, everyone in this region has a role to play in shaping the outcome of this site. And although we know we may not always agree on every aspect of the future development of it, we may not agree on every detail, as residents of this city and of this region, we can be respectful and forward-thinking about what can happen here. Our history has shown that that we are capable of that. Our future will showcase that. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's get to work on this site. A year will go by very quickly. The opportunity has to be seized right now. Thank you for being here. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our council member, Chris Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor. And I first want to thank the Mayor for his leadership on this. And I want to thank Ford for their continued partnership with the City of St. Paul. And thank you all for being here in Highland Park on this beautiful day. This site has a lot of meaning to both the neighborhood and to me personally. Many of us, including myself, played on the ball fields that are just south of where we stand. Many of us saw all the workers who helped build this neighborhood go to and from work and send trucks across the nation. Because of this history and because of the current state of this neighborhood, we owe it to the past, to the present, and to the future Highland Park and St. Paul residents to strive for greatness at this site. This is a remarkable piece of riverfront property in an irreplaceable location, close to 2 thriving downtowns and an international airport, in the heart of one of the country's premier neighborhoods. Because of this, this site calls for and deserves greatness. Greatness in planning, greatness in use, greatness in architecture, in tax base, in amenities, greatness in sustainability, in jobs, in public space, in transportation, and greatness in vision. Every part of this development and this planning process deserves greatness. In order to achieve that greatness, as Mayor Coleman mentioned, we need to form many partnerships. Whether it's the current partnership we have with Ford, the MPCA, the state, and the city, to ensure that this site is clean from the pollution that could be here, so that when Ford ultimately leaves, that the pollution is taken with them, or the partnership with the Riverview Corridor, led by Ramsey County and specifically Commissioner Ortega, that is already underway to ensure that transportation, not just in this site, but around this site, works for everybody and for all modes of transportation. Or if it's the partnership that has been announced today between the city, the neighborhood, the people, local organizations, Ford, any future developers, and others, as we start envisioning our vision for this site. If we build these partnerships, then we can achieve a great 21st century development that embodies the things that we love about St. Paul in the past and the bold things that we want to do in the future. We have the opportunity to revitalize, to improve, and to complete Highland Park in the city of St. Paul. Whether that means life cycle housing, ball fields, green space for modern uses, or increased property tax revenue, we have the opportunity over time to create a first-class premier development that only further enhances our already thriving community. And time should be recognized. This is a marathon, it's not a sprint. But what we are announcing here today is the next step in our continued efforts to achieve a great development. We do not, as a city, own this property, but we own our neighborhood. So in partnership with Ford, with the neighborhood, with every level of government, it is exciting and important that we begin these next steps to articulate our vision of how we want to see the future of this site, the future of this neighborhood, and the future of our city. We have that opportunity to incorporate the best parts of our past with the boldest parts of our future and create a great development, and I'm excited to get to work. Thank you all for being here.
Time for a few questions.
Good morning. Does the city have plans to purchase the site once it goes up for sale? If so, what do you want to develop here?
Well, it wouldn't be the intent of the city to purchase that. There are a lot of private sector developers that want to be, they're quite frankly salivating at the opportunity for this site. They understand how great this is. So the city's role is really kind of bringing the community together to have that conversation about what can go here, when we fully understand the scope and the scale of any environmental contamination and remediation that needs to occur. When we have that preliminary kind of look at the zoning that will come out in mid-October, we'll have a better roadmap for the future for it. So what we want to do is be partners with Ford, partners with the future developer, partners with the community to build the best and boldest vision that's possible for this site.
Mayor, so you have had some inquiries. Can you shed some light on those who maybe you are actually salivating?
Yes, large corporations that have developed massive opportunities like this across the country. No, I can't really share with you who's out there, and ultimately will be, you know, once that decision is made, and I think once we have a little bit more information, different folks are going to come into this mix. But the reality of it is we've had both interest on a national and a local level. We've had, of course, in our backyard, we have some of the best national developers anywhere. And so whether that's a local company that would come in or a national, we don't know yet. That will ultimately be determined by Ford. But Ford is working very closely with us to help select the right developer for this site.
Is Ford cleaning it up just to sort of good enough for industrial uses, and then it's up to some public entity to get it to, you know, you mentioned green space and residential and those type of things?
Right now, and I ask Mike maybe if he wants to add to this, what we're really doing is getting the full assessment. We need to really understand what's on the site, and you know, if there's any particular areas of concern, what the plan would be at that point. We'd put that together. I don't know if Mike, if you want to add anything, but you know, obviously we want to have the cleanest site available so that we can do the most possible for the future of the site. Mike, do you want to?
You said it just right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anything in recent memory comparable to something of this scale?
You know, it really is, for St. Paul and for this region, it's unprecedented. We've had opportunities, you know, if you go back to the Midway District, the old Coke site, that whole industrial area there, that was a pretty massive undertaking many years ago. But on this scale, in this region, there's nothing to compare. And quite frankly, if you look at kind of the vision that we're putting together, I haven't seen anything quite like this anywhere in the country. You know, you can go out to Denver and look at what they did at Stapleton Airport. There's places down in Atlanta, some old industrial sites that have been cleaned up. But when you look at the context of this, if you look at the strength of the neighborhood surrounding it, if you look at the location approximate, as Councilmember Tolbert said, to the airport and to the two downtowns, this is a really unique opportunity anywhere in this country.
Any idea what the price tag would be?
$1.50, $2, something that negotiable.
Mayor, exactly what are you announcing today? It's not clear to me what is new here. Can you explain that?
Okay, so first of all, that this initial phase of the demolition of the buildings is really complete now. We're going into the second, where the slabs are going to come up and the environmental remediation or kind of assessment and remediation is going to take place. But what we're really announcing is that between now and the time that site goes up for sale, when Ford is ready to bring it to market, that the work that we do now with the community process, with the rezoning, is a really intense year of activity. And this is the time, you know, we've had a lot of community conversation. We've had the task force that has laid out a vision. But between the work that's being done by the Regional Rail Authority to look at transportation options into the site, when you look at the community process that's going to be necessary for the rezoning, this is the year of really refining and defining the vision for the future of the site. Councilmember Tolbert, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, or you? Okay.
You got it.
All right. I feel like I'm hogging the microphone here, so.
I was going to ask Mike too, to what degree, Mike, will Ford be listening to this city in terms of its future plans and its decisions on the development here? I mean, can you give us an idea how important is the city's partnership here is?
Oh, they're critical. They've been critical since we started this decommissioning process. We've been partnered up with, you know, all phases of the mayor's government, or all departments, and working in lockstep. We know how important that is to be successful. They're going to help Ford be successful, and we're going to return the favor as we move this thing toward redevelopment.
Hey Mike, right now this place kind of looks like a sea of concrete. At the point when it is up for sale, will it look like this? Will it look like a big grassy field? Like, paint a picture.
It'll look like a big grassy field. In fact, as Mayor Coleman just mentioned, the slabs will be removed in the upcoming months, starting this week, essentially, on the south side of the site. And by the time we're complete, it'll be fully vegetated, with grading, with sediment pond, set up for the sale to developers.
Mike, you're going to, the plan is for Ford to clean it to industrial standards, is that correct?
Well, as Mayor Coleman mentioned, that's to be determined. We've got to find out what is beneath the slabs, assess it, and then determine what makes sense in terms of which standard it's returned to, whether it be industrial, residential, or otherwise.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.